As someone who's always looking to improve aspects of my setup, I often find myself swapping out different peripherals and components, different mice, speakers, mouse mats, and of course, keyboards. On that ever-long quest to find the perfect setup, today is one of those days where I say goodbye to my old keyboard and introduce a new one. This is the NK65 Random FrankP edition, and today we're going to be checking it out, going through its functions and features, and we're going to talk about why I landed on this keyboard. There's a lot in this keyboard to go through, so let's get into it. So at its core, this is an NK65 entry edition, a 65% keyboard from Novelkeys. While this is the Random FrankP collaboration edition, they do have standard editions, which I'll put a link to down below. The standard edition includes the case, PCB and plate, and that's all for $95. When they're in stock, that's a steal. This version came with the keycaps and the switches, which I'll get into later, but this came in at $190 plus shipping. So included in the box, we have a Novelkeys branded carrying case, although on mine the logo is a little bit messed up. We get a few extra keycaps and a black coiled USB-C cable. This isn't the coiled cable that you'd get from the likes of Swift cables or Space cables, it's just a plasticky one, but it'll get you started, but you'll probably end up replacing it. I knew that I had this board arriving, so I had the cable made to match months ago. So I'm sure most of you already know what a 65% keyboard is, but just in case you don't, I'll go through it quickly. So the keys that don't have a dedicated button anymore can still be all accessed. For example, your function row, your top row F1 to F12, you can still be accessed by pressing the function key and the top row 1 to the plus. For me personally, I think 65% is just right. You still get your arrow keys and a few extra switches, so it's not as small and compact as a 60% keyboard, and it gets rid of all the unnecessary ones. It feels a lot more comfortable to type on as well. Let's talk about the design of the board. You don't get height adjustments, but the 8° angle on the polycarbonate case feels just right, and it fits well with my wrist rest. On the bottom, you have two long rubber grips which span the length of the board and stop it sliding around. As well as this, there's a nice topographical pattern on the bottom that matches the spacebar. The board's actually a lot more heavy and hefty than I thought it would be. Speaking of keycaps, these are PBT keycaps, and they're just so clean. They're an ice white with teal accents and legends. The font is clean and bold, and we have symbols for the novelty keys. Really nice details. Included with the keyboard was a topographical spacebar. It actually came with a plain white one out of the box, and also a Randomfrankp logo escape key. Underneath those caps, we have the options of picking two switches, recoloured box jade switches or recoloured Novelkeys silk yellows. I opted for the silk emerald switches. I've always used clicky switches in the past and decided I wanted to try something new with this board, and I'm so glad that I did. It's such a different feeling from clicky switches. My first gaming mechanical keyboard was a clicky and tactile switches, and I think that most people are similar when they buy the first gaming keyboards. You get that typical mechanical keyboard switch that's loud and clicky. So coming from that to something like this is crazy. I even let my brother try this out, and the first thing that he said was, why don't they click? So it's new to me, and I'm happy that I went with these. The switches are also south-facing, and because they're clear, the RGB shines through nicely. We have plate mount stabs, which are factory lubed, which is always nice. So a few of the little things to note. The USB-C port is on the right side, and it's slightly recessed, but not enough where it'll interfere with any cables that you've got. It is on the right side, which I found a bit weird. I don't know if it was because my last keyboard, the Drop Alt, had USB ports on both sides. I usually use the left side, so for the right side it just felt a little bit weird, but that's just for me and something to note. Another thing to note is that all keyboards were actually shipped with the Randomfrankp logo on the back. This was meant to originally just be for his actual board. The retailer reached out to me about a week before delivery, and they mentioned that all boards were shipped with his logo on. They said we could have a refund if we didn't like this. But to me, you're buying a Random Frank keyboard, are you going to be bothered if his logo's on it? You can't really see it anyway, it's at the back. So it's no issue, and it's just something to note. One thing that was new to me was the software that you can use to remap the keys and set the RGB colours on this board. The NK65 is compatible with VIA, which was nice and easy to set up. It was a little bit more complicated than your typical Corsair IQ or your Synapse softwares, but that's just the nature of these boards. I'll link a video down below which I followed to get me set up. So shouts out to Mech Merlin, the video was nice and easy to follow. All in all, this is a really solid board. It's so clean, the switches, the keycaps, they're all really nice and it's well done. Frank and Novelkeys done a great job on this one. I don't know when this specific version will be back in stock or if it'll be in stock again. I know that he does mouse mats, and they come back in stock quite a few times, so keep your eyes open for this one, sign up for the notifications, and if you are looking to pick up just the NK65, I'll put a link down below. You can pick up the entry edition for $95 to $100. So that about wraps it up, and I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.